Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited today to talk about one of the most important topics that's really affecting all dental practices across the world. I used to think this was just an issue in the US until we started speaking with some of our global partners. And this is really a worldwide epidemic with needing to hire teams and then ultimately needing to retain them. So we are going to have Dr. Wu walk us through this incredible webinar on how we're going to not only find team members, train team members, but also retain them. So lots of information going on here today. Just going to give you guys a couple minutes to jump in. I know we've got some people on lunch hours, as well as some people just getting started in the morning. So let's give it another minute or so. We will be taking a lot of questions. So if you can start with putting inside the Q&A, we'd love to know a question here is how many people in the audience are struggling with hiring, training, or retaining staff members? I'm guessing if we took a poll, it would be 100%. But I'd love for you to try out that Q&A. Dr. Wu's going to be sticking around at the end to be able to answer some of these questions. So let's jump in and get started. I am Sheela Roth, Head of Clinical Education at Pearl, and very excited about this session. I remember managing a practice myself, and this is one of my biggest pain points and blockages to practice growth. So I would love to hear from you guys in the Q&A if you are struggling with any of these topics. 80% of dental practices are reporting staff shortages, and about 95% of dentists are reporting significant challenges in recruiting hygienists. 87% of dentists find it challenging to find dental assistants, and 63% of dentists are struggling finding administrative personnel. So this is a wonderful topic. This challenge affects all of us. It affects patient care and practice growth. But this webinar is going to work with your teams. You will get some information today from Dr. Wu to be able to leave this webinar and move directly into some resolutions, attracting the right people, setting them up for success with this structured onboarding and training program, and most importantly, keeping them engaged, motivated, and excited so that they can treat your patients well. We know how expensive it is to have staff turnover. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to Dr. Wu. That's my rhyme for the today. He is a true leader in digital dentistry and practice growth. He earned his DMD from Tufts and completed his residency at UCLA with advanced training in implants, veneers, full mouth reconstructions. He's also lectured in many conferences, including Yankee Dental, Texas Dental, and is the owner of Emerson Dental, a multi-specialty practice in Massachusetts. A champion of technology and continuous improvement, Dr. Wu engages in cutting-edge tools like Pearl AI, additional companies like Bola and Curve, and he's here today to share the systems and mindset behind building a high-performing team. So Dr. Wu, we're so excited you have joined us again today. I will turn it over to you and look forward to hearing how you can help our teams today.
Thank you, Sheila. It's always exciting to be here. And again, I know that some of you guys are starting your day, some of you guys are at lunch. So let's say breakfast, brunch, lunch. If you guys are eating, let's, get your food ready, heat up your microwaves, and I'm here to motivate you for the next hour. So a little bit about the playbook about hiring associates, but not just associates, team members. As you see in the picture there, we invite all of our team members to be part of our story. So I'm here to tell you all about that. Now, obviously, before we begin, the one thing I want to disclose is, I am an advisor and an ambassador with Pearl, so there is commercial support provided by Pearl. This CE is also with joint CE Zoom. They have no relevant financial information to disclose. And again, my success is partners with the companies I am partnered with, and their success is my success. And one last minute disclosure I'm going to tell you all is I'm going to practice what I preach. I am also looking for employees to join, and in the next upcoming months, I'm gonna be looking for the next general dentist to join our story. So I thought I'd make that an announcement in this webinar. And at the end of this, I will have my email address. So if you're an associate dentist and you're looking to join a practice, I am looking, or if you have friends that are looking. Now, our goals for today. I always set goals, crush them, and repeat them. Now, last time when I gave this webinar, it was Thursday night and I was competing with Thursday night football. This time I'm going to be, like I said, competing with breakfast, lunch, and depending on whatever time zone you're in. Now, my goal is, as always, is to educate, to entertain, and inspire you. So hopefully I achieve that today. I'm going to give you guys a little introduction about myself. We're going to talk about my dental journey. And then I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of what kind of dentist are you or dental office are you? We're going to talk about mission statements, vision statements, and values of your practice and the people that work for you. How do you evaluate talent? And then hiring, recruiting, and retention. And then at the very end, I want to leave it to questions and some final thoughts. So just like Sheila said, she gave me a little introduction. I'm not going to go through the nitty gritty, but I am a tech forward dentist. So I've integrated Bola, Curve, software, and Pearl in the last 5 years. And I went from a server-based EagleSoft to cloud-based software. And really, I'm always looking for businesses and partnerships that they're practice Kaizen, continuous improvement. And my life and my career philosophy is to find companies that share that same value. Now, a little bit about my journey. Like Sheila said, I graduated at Tufts in 2005. I did my residency at UCLA. And at that point, when I started my associate journey, I associated in a prosthodontist office. Now, unfortunately for him, he went through some life challenges, and very early on in my career, I was forced into a decision to either buy a practice and start my career as an owner or look for another job because he had said to me he was dead set on selling the practice. So in 2010, 4 years into my associateship, I took over the practice. It was a small practice, about $1 million in revenue, 5 chairs. And I was focused on growth and adding technology. So from 2010 to 2015, I went from, a one doctor practice to adding all the different specialties. And we quickly grew into 8 chairs. In 2015, I added a second general dentist. And all the way through 2019, we actually added a second location right before COVID, unfortunately. So we've had our challenges. But currently, to this date, in 2025, we have 8 associate dentists. We have endo, perio, and pedo, and I have currently have 26 employees, and we're doing about $4 million in revenue. So that's my history. Now, my question for those of you in the room that are hiring or looking for places, what kind of office do you want to work at? Now, here's example of 2 different offices. I don't think there's too many offices that are using traditional x-rays, but that probably dates myself. But when I first started, there were a lot of offices that where we had to develop x-rays and the old type traditional x-rays. So you can have that kind of office, and you have to understand what kind of associates are you going to attract if that's what your office is like. Or are you going to be a cutting edge office like that has Pearl AI, second opinion, digital x-rays, and also all the other digital things? Or are you a CEREC office? So if you're going to attract those kind of top tier talent, then you got to understand you're going to want to make your office function that way as well. Now, also, is your schedule oriented office? Are you a flexible office? Are you a small family office? Or are you going to be more corporate run? There is no wrong answer with that, but really that's something that every office should consider of knowing who they are and what kind of thing they're trying to attract. An analogy I like to give is like cars. there are all sorts of different cars there out there. Are you going to be the Porsche of dental offices? Are you the BMW of dental offices? Are you going to be high price? Are you going to be high quality and you're going to have all the most expensive dental materials are out there? Those are things for you guys to think about and also advertise in your ads when you're looking for associates. So like attracts like. The same goes for staff, doctors, and patients. Another analogy I often relate to is restaurants. Dental offices are like restaurants. They all serve food. They're just at different price points and different experiences for the patients and for the people who work there. You could be a high-end restaurant or type of office, or you could be the McDonald's. And there is nothing wrong because they both serve function and they're both serving people, to eat. Now, a big thing, like we talked about earlier, is mission statement and why statements. Really, if you really had to slim it down, it's the question that I want you to think about is what do you do? Yes, I mean, I know the obvious answer is you're doing dentistry, but more than that, like what gets you guys up in the morning? What's the purpose of the company? What do you stand for? Now, throughout this process, I'm an open book. I'm going to share with you what it's like to work at my office and what my why statement, my mission statement, my vision statement, it's all written out here. So I'm going to go through it line by line with you guys. So the mission statement and the white statement. Why? Why does Dr. Greg Wu and all of his doctors and staff get up in the morning? Well, my white statement, and I wrote this all myself, and it's important the people who are at the top, the owners, the the directors, they should be writing these things out. So our white statement is to create smiles with everything that we do so that everyone can enjoy their journey through life. It's that simple. Our mission statement at Emerson Dental is the goal of our practice is to provide the very best dental care to our patients so that each is able to achieve and maintain optimal health throughout their lifetime. We are dedicated to treat each patient as a whole person with emphasis on preventive dentistry. We treat our patients the way we ourselves want to be treated with compassion, gentleness, and personal attention. We strive to deliver excellent quality and attentive care to each patient who joins our practice. Vision statement. So, what's a vision statement? A vision statement basically is what you're going to tell people where you want to be in the future. So, and what goals are you going to set for yourself? I say this to everyone. Dreams without goals are only dreams. So if you have things that you're trying to achieve, if you're going to try to grow your practice and you say, I want to become an 8-chair practice or a 20-chair practice, that should be in your vision statement. So what is your practice? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? So for our vision statement in the next 3 years, by 2028, we will become a multi-location, premier multi-specialty dental practice in the greater Boston area by exceeding the expectations of our patients. We want to become the category consultant in multi-specialty practice operations, become an original that others will try to copy, fully integrate all digital technology, provide an integral part of patients' total health care, provide a caring atmosphere for both patients and staff, provide timely and efficient care, function as a team to maximize use of resources, advocate for quality dentistry, and make health promotion a patient's priority. Now we get into values. For those of you who have obviously interviewed, there are some companies that list their values. Some companies don't. They don't even know who they are. And so if you, going back to what I said earlier, if you're going to attract like people, then list them out. What are your values? Here are some samples. Obviously, accountability, accuracy, composure, consistency. Are you a patient-focused office? Do you value speed? Do you value willfulness? It's the culture of your office. And every office, and I've visited lots of offices and I've talked to a lot of doctors over my years, they all have their own culture and their own values. So all I'm asking you guys is to write it out. And so I have mine written out. I have five company values slash cultural values in my office. And people that align with my values, they fit in great. And we feel like it doesn't even feel like work. And those that do not align with my vision and my values of the company, they usually have a difficult time where we have difficulties in working together. So the five company values, I'm going to start, honesty. Honesty is a big value in our company. Transparency throughout the organization of key decisions. Honesty is the first chapter in the Book of Wisdom. Creativity. Creativity inspires ideas, and ideas inspire change. Creativity is just intelligence having fun. Now, in the 15 or so years I've owned my practice, I can share with you there have been a lot of changes. We've integrated CERIC, like I said to you earlier, we've integrated cloud-based software, integrated Pearl. So we are constantly evolving. And so when there's new things that come out, I always tell my staff and my doctors, like, hey, let's look into this. I enjoy the creativity. The other value is leadership. And it's not leadership that I'm looking for 15 office managers. I'm going to define leadership for you all. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. And those are the type of people that when they're with me at Emerson Dental, the sky's the limit on where we can go. Other company values, efficiency, doing better than what's already being done. Efficiency is intelligence being lazy. Challenge the status quo. And I see that happening with all the companies that I partner with. They're always looking to be better, faster, more efficient. And this is probably, for me, the most important value. Fun. Play to win, but enjoy the fun. So often we become so focused on the finish line that we fail to enjoy the journey. Choose a job that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Confucius. And really, I truly believe that. And I wanted you all to know that the people that I choose to work with and they choose to work with me, it's that's a big that's a big relatable value that I want to make sure that we have. Now, all of you guys are going to ask me next, well, how do I find those people? How do I track them? Where do you want to work? And we're going to talk about recruiting, vision and values aligned, and then retention, mentorship, and growth. Now, there was a TikTok video craze where everyone was looking for a man with in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. If you guys have not seen it, I thought it was a really funny thing. But I thought about that video and I said, well, isn't everybody doing the same thing when they're looking for associates? They're looking for someone who works hard, productive, expansive procedures, perfect dentistry, and people skills. So it's like dating. You're never going to find the perfect one. You're finding the right match. They're just perfect doesn't exist. And I have talked to a lot of managers, doctors. They're like, well, if I just find that right person, it's not the right person, it's the right person for you. So now the question is recruitment. Where do you look? Well, continuing with a dating analogy, how do you meet your someone from anywhere? you know, now I'm gonna date myself. I'm 48, so I'm before the age of like Tinder and Match.com. I mean, when I was dating, it was more like I have a friend, I know somebody, I want to introduce this person. There's more expansive ways for you to meet people. With all of the internet and the access of cell phones and social groups online. Well, I would say the same thing for finding associates. I mean, back when I was in dental school, it was dental schools, a couple job boards, and then networking through my professors. I think it's expanded from there now because you got Indeed, job postings, study clubs, social media, dental nachos. And again, good old networking still works. There's 6 degrees of separation. Headhunters, there's dental sales reps too. Dental sales reps are probably one of the biggest ones that I think are overlooked. They go and travel to thousands of different dental offices. And if you're an associate and or someone who's looking, they see and meet associates all the time, and they also see owners all the time. So they're kind of like the ultimate matchmaker, if you ask me. But the biggest thing is if you don't ask, if you're looking for someone, ask anybody, hey, I'm looking for an associate. Do you know anybody that's looking? Because if you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. And I wouldn't be following my own advice if I don't mention that I am also looking for an associate to join us, like I said earlier. Now, hiring. The screening process, process. Like I said, step one, you need to let everybody know that you're looking. So ad placement, whether you're going to put the ad in Indeed, on a Facebook post, on your LinkedIn, that those are easy ways because, there's minimal costs. Then it comes to networking. Ask your network, hey, I'm looking for somebody. And then we know that you're going to connect at some point. Maybe you have an introduction email, and then you're going to eventually schedule a phone call or an interview. So you make sure that at least the process goes through. So step one, do they pass the first phase, the second phase? And then I always say the live interview is kind of like the ice cream on top or the cherry on top of the ice cream. It's like if they meet them, and then you can have conversations and you kind of align. And really, the working interview is more the very final stage of you just want to make sure they get along with your team and everything meshes together. And for me, I'm always looking for the right attitude versus competent. The right attitude is more important to me. Will over skill. Now, there are people out there that are very skillful, and I don't doubt that. But if they don't align with the values, it becomes bigger trouble than it's worth. And so, one of the questions that I always like to ask the clinicians is, yeah, so your clinician that you interview is ready to go, obviously skilled, but there are things that in your practice that you have preferences. Are you a Emacs office? Are you a Zirconia office? Or are you a CEREC office? You could put a most talented doctor in front of me, and the doctor might say, I hate CEREC. Okay, well, I am a CEREC office at Emerson Dental. And so, that's not going to match, even if they're super skilled and they have a full following of patients that are going to come and join the practice. It doesn't work with our workflow. So it's important for you to identify what you are and also what they are. Are you a prophy endo doctor? Do you try to do endo ahead of time, or you avoid endo? There are doctors that are like, you know what? I'm going to try to avoid the endo. I'm going to put a big filling. I'm going to put DiCal. And there isn't a right or wrong. It's just their preferences, aligner treatment preferences, perio thresholds. Do you tend to be more aggressive of like, hey, you know what? I just want to put them on 3-month recall and a little bit more teetering towards scaling root planes? Or are you going to be like, yeah, you know what? We can do a 5-unit prophy and, bring them back for a second appointment. And then there's aesthetic preferences too. For those that do crown designs, especially if you have an in-house lab technician, these are things to think about. And again, I can't have the answers for you. For the ones that have their own practices, you should list those out, or at least have a framework so that someone who's applying to your office knows what they're getting themselves into. Now, evaluating talent. There's different personality tests out there, cognitive tests. If you guys didn't know, the NFL teams spend thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, because I know the NFL draft is coming up. I'm a big sports fan. And I'm going to tell you, they used to do a Wonderlic test. They used to use a Wonderlic test to evaluate players up till 2022. They just recently got rid of it. But I wonder because I think it's a great idea. So Eldon Wunderlich created a Wonderlic test in the 1930s for a swift, reliable tool for measuring cognitive ability and problem-solving skills. And I know that in the NFL draft, the quarterbacks, they utilized it especially because they're making quick decisions and they use it as a measuring stick. Now, was it the end all where if you had a high Wonderlic test, you were going to be an excellent quarterback? Of course not. It's no different than for the dentists out there in the room. that if you did well on your national boards or a DAT, meant automatically you were going to be a successful dentist. It was just an evaluation tool. And what I'm getting at is the more evaluation tools out there, the better it gives us a guide of if someone's going to predictively be a fit or not a fit. Now, there are different ones out there. Obviously, we talked about Wonderlic. There's also Drake assessment, predictive index, disc profiles, and Big, Briggs-Meyer personality test. I've always wanted to create my own, the Wunderlich test. All joking aside, but it is something that I've always dreamed of doing. So I wanted to share with you guys my test results. I thought it's a good way for you to see. This is my Drake assessments, and Drake does something where they talk, you answer a series of questions, and it measures your dominance, your extroversion, your patience, and your conformity. So just to give you an idea, and also another tool you can do and use for when you're interviewing people. Now, years ago, right before COVID, I integrated all of my staff from doctors to assistants to hygienists and front desk. We all took Drake's. And the reason we did that is it allowed us to kind of see the inner workings. Or for those of you who are sports fans, I call it like a scouting report. It's like preferences, communication styles, and where people would be in roles that would be successful. You don't put an extrovert in the back room where they're in the lab and they don't talk to people. The extrovert's not going to be happy. And you don't put the introvert at the front door welcoming people. Can they do the job? Of course they can, but that's not always their comfort level. So again, putting people in the right roles where they can succeed. I have also taken, and like I said to you guys, I've taken a ton of these different personality tests. This is the predictive index. This is my predictive index, and my pattern is a creative analytical. So surprise, surprise. That's why my values align with people who are creative. Um, and I can again, one thing I love about predictive index, it talks about if you can someone who can adapt to single tasks or multiple tasks and their morale, and they give you a little summary in there. And for those managers out there, I love how it gives you management strategies, needs independence and autonomy, control own work and life. That's always been true of me. And I've been managed by other different managers, and those micromanagers and I do not ever get along. And I need a variety, change of pace, and different work activities. And I need the kind of security that comes with some certainty. And when I've gone through these different personality tests, I can tell you the truth. They're all very similar. They're all fairly accurate. They do have little nuances that are different. But I don't think there's one better than the other. It's just if you're gonna use one, use that, and I would say that would be your screening tool. And for those who are curious about my Briggs-Meyer, I am a commander, which is a ENTJ for those of you who have taken it. Um, Commanders are bold, imaginative, strong-willed, and always find a way or making one. Now, something that I want to tell you, obviously, there's no foolproof tool because if there was, Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks out here, would not have been a sixth round draft pick. But one thing that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about is Pearls Calibrate. There's nothing, I don't think there's any company that has something like this. It is a great tool to evaluate your clinical skills on identifying X-rays and decay pathology, and it's clinical calibration across your entire organization, and it's obviously powered by AI. Now, I had a hint hunter offer me an associate, and the title was experienced and competent general dentist. And the first thing I thought when I saw that email was the author decided that they worded competent and experienced, but how would I know that? That's just words to me. And the second thing I thought was, how do they know that they're actually competent? And the logical answer is they don't. So, is there a test out there that we could find that? And I think that Pearl calibrates on the beginning of that. And I'm really excited to see where this goes because one of the conversations I've had with Pearl is getting it to the next level, not just the X-rays, but having more, and these are just proposal ideas that I've had, is having set questions, treatment plan off the X-rays as well, not just identifying and diagnosing X-rays, but being able to treatment plan off it and making so that you know what kind of treatment plans these doctors would do, and also identify the need to retake films, and then time. Time does matter. Measuring the decision speed, and then also the quality of the decision. And lastly, I definitely see there's going to be a home for this in DSOs and universities where you have very big, large number of people, and it kind of calibrates large groups. My office, although large to most private offices, not nowhere near some of those 50 location practices out there or universities. Now, retention. Why would you stay at their office? What's their entitlement? I mean, what I tell all my associates, this is why you should stay. We are always going to be on the cutting edge of technology. Anything that's new, I'm going to look to integrate it. And so we're going to always provide what my mission said. We're going to provide the best quality of care. Now, obviously, people stay in their jobs for a variety of reasons. Anything is possible. Office culture, technology, camaraderie, money, growth, and it's different for every person. Employees value different things. So you need to find out what their ice cream is. Otherwise, when there's no ice cream, like the picture shows, then nothing's possible. And a little funny thing about that is, people always ask me, what's the magical contract? Do you offer bonuses, perks, percentage? I said, there is no magic formula because it really depends on the person. Now, a little fun story about the anything's possible. The reason this picture came about, I actually saw it in social media and I laughed because I want to say about a month ago, Pearl and Curve are seamlessly calibrated, but there was a software update and Pearl wasn't connecting with Curve. And my most senior hygienist, who was usually one of the more slower ones to adapt technology, came to me and was like, my Pearl's not working. My Pearl's not working. I'm like, whoa, 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 calm down. And she said to me, no, I need it. I use that every morning or before every patient. I like to screen through it and I like to show the patient how Pearl second opinion identifies pathology. And I looked at her, I'm like, well, you can just go, I mean, because she's older than me. And I said to her, well, you can just diagnose it and the doctors can just diagnose it. Oh, it's not the same. It's like it's just nice having that tool. And it just goes to show you that technology is a great thing, but when you lose it, you realize like, that how much you miss it. It's I always tell people with second opinion, it's like my GPS. Even though I know where I'm driving to, I just like to have it as a safety net. And that's how she explained to me. She's like, no, I just like having it there, so I make sure I don't miss anything. Uh, well, final thoughts, guys. So again, talking about me being a sports fan for baseball, because we're in baseball season, there's something called a five-tool player. What does five-tool player mean? Well, that's a generational player, that once in a lifetime talent. That's a baseball player that hits for average, hits for power, has arm strength, has defense, and has speed. And why am I bringing this up? Well, I truly believe in that with dentistry too. What about dentistry? What's a five-tool dentist look like? Well, I'll tell you what I think a five-tool dentist should look like. A five-tool dentist is one that has clinical speed, clinical accuracy, personality, because we're in the people business and we deal with people every day and people are attracted to other people. Appearance and presentation skills. And now, and that matters because we're in the health and beauty industry, and so nobody's going to want to go to a dentist with two missing front teeth. You have to look a certain way. You got to practice what you preach. And then communication skills. How do you communicate? What's your communication style? And that there's my perfect dentist or future dentist. That's my daughter with her pearl cap. And I was telling her about how back in my day, my professors used to say, okay, put your thinking caps on. And she t stole my baseball cap and she told me, oh, I got my thinking cap on. And I'm like, no, Belle, there's no more thinking caps anymore. Now we got AI caps because we don't need to think anymore. But anyways, all joking aside, so now you found your perfect dentist and you're ready to win your championship. But no, not so fast. Because do the superstars win championships? Not really. Now I'll tell you the story of Michael Jordan. He was the best player in basketball for years. And it wasn't until he had a team that he started to win championships. So you could find that perfect five-tool dentist. It doesn't mean that you're going to have an awesome team. And that's something to really think about. Is team building is that important. He couldn't win championships until he embraced to work with his team and teamwork. And talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. Michael Jordan. And again, I'm a Gen Xer, so before the days of technology, we used to have these books called Choose Your Own Adventure, where you flip to page 15 if you'd made one decision, and you flip to page 42 for another. So one of the things I always like to end my webinar topics is, what should be my next webinar topic for those out there? And please, put in one, two, three, or four. Um, you know, some one of the topics could be accident to allies, how I integrated pediatric dentistry in my office, because there are not a lot of offices that have a pediatric dentist in adult dentistry. And the reason why I say that, it's probably one of the most difficult specialties because treating children is different than how you treat adults. Um, my my other topic, cost versus price. For those of you who didn't know, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, 6 years ago I did a webinar with my CPA, and we talked about numbers, all KPIs and all those things. So happy to do that and do a part two with where we're at today. Number three is to share with you all. 3 years ago, I had March 22nd, 2022, I suffered a stroke and it flipped my whole business life upside down. I soon exited out of clinical care and I took a more administrative role in my office. I am currently 3 years post-stroke, and I'm happy to do a overcoming adversity topic and what to do when everything goes wrong. And I'm happy to tell that story. If there's interest in listening to that, because everything in my office changed. I was the main producer in my office and I had to pull myself away, and I quickly had to hire associates and move things forward from there. And I'm very grateful for the team that was still there with me. And we came with a game plan to transition everything. And obviously, number four, my favorite. Dr. Wu, your topic choice suck. What would really be revolutionary would be blank. And I'm happy to hear that. And please put your comments in the chat so that Sheila can record and tell me what we should talk about. And another shameless self-promotion here. For those who have really enjoyed this and you're ready to dive deeper, um, there's an online summit that myself and Cassie Talon are going to be hosting May 30th. There's a QR code, and we're going to go over recession-proof workflows, lean, scalable systems, clinical KPIs that buyers crave, culture strategies that retain top talent. We got a little bit taster here today. And we're going to give you a private coaching session with me and Cassie, and access to recordings and a digital workbook, and a supportive community with like-minded leaders out there. So thank you all for joining me on your lunch hour or breakfast for some of you. Um, you know, this is my email, my LinkedIn, and my Instagram handle. And again, my QR code for my upcoming online summit. That's an all-day summit. Happy to connect with all of you. And thank you for joining me on this. And right before this, I was a little bored, and I know that's a big fun thing. Everybody's making action figures. So I literally right before this, Sheila, you'll laugh. I was making these little action figures, so because I was waiting for us to get started.
Well, of course you did, Dr. Wu, because you always make everything fun. So I love that.
Well, I have to live by my values.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of your information. And we're going to go through some questions and answers. I know some of you have raised hands. Feel free to put your questions directly into the Q&A and we can ask Dr. Wu. So, Dr. Wu, here's the first question for you. If you had to choose one thing, what is the most effective way of recruiting a talented dentist?
Network. I'll say this because if it's a friend of a friend that recommends me something, I'm more inclined to trust it. And I'm also more inclined to say yes. It's no different than a dentist. For those of you who are dentists, how do you get it? What are your best patients? They're always referrals from another person.
That is a great point. And Catherine also had a great statement, which I appreciate, is even though we are all struggling trying to find staff members, when I was hiring for my last practice, I'll share a little bit about that, but you start sometimes compromising a little bit. And I think you learn very quickly that that's not the avenue that's going to really pay off. So her comment was that, you know, they're really struggling with hygiene, but they're not going to hire until they find the right fit, which I think is very commendable. Um, One thing I remember was, and Dr. Wu, you actually alluded to this, and I thought it was really important here, was that you talked a lot about when you get to the final interview, you are focusing on that's where I'm trying to find out how do they meet with my team? Do they get along? You've really done a lot of the assessment. So when you bring them into the office to try things out, you're looking for attitude and personality. So I thought that was important. A lot of times, what I've seen practices do is they'll just jump straight into, great, when can you come down? And they come on in and their hours don't match up, what they're looking for doesn't match up, and I think it's a waste of time for both parties. So can you share a little bit about your interview process over the phone? And then I also wanted to just share my screen for a quick invite for the teams too, if you don't mind.
Yep, absolutely. And then just to, so you want me to stop sharing here?
Yes, please.
Okay. Um, One of the things I did not mention in the webinar here is because of COVID changed this. But back when I was hiring, I used to have we used to take the person out to lunch when they came in for their observation slash working interview. So if they were an assistant, my assistants took that assistant out to lunch. If they were a hygienist, the hygiene team took the hygienist out to lunch. If they were a doctor, me and whatever doctors were available would take that doctor out to lunch. Now, you may say, well, why lunch? Because we talk about people's personalities. I did not want, I mean, yes, I'm happy to buy them lunch. It's not just about the lunch. I wanted to see how they interacted with my team, but more so, I wanted to see how they interacted with the wait staff and how they treated other people and what their communication style is too.
Mhm.
That was very telling. And, yes, they may have looked great on paper, but I'm sharing this with you. There are some people that lost their jobs or lost their chance at the job from lunch. It was like just, it was that simple. Now, the one rule that we had was no office managers and no decision makers were going to that lunch because it wasn't an interview. It was just getting to know them. And
Mhm.
obviously, when they came back from lunch, my first question was, okay, how did it go?
That is such a great idea. I love that. I remember doing that with one candidate as well. And um, one of the people that was having lunch with us was actually one of the decision makers. And the doctor didn't know that because he thought, oh, well, this is just the assistant, right?
Yeah.
But she had been our guru for the last 10 years. And he really treated her poorly, ignored her,
Wow.
talking mainly to the hiring dentist, didn't really acknowledge her. And our dentist didn't hire him because of that. So I
Yeah.
love what you're saying. And they really are part of your family, right? You're spending 40 hours or more with these people. And we want to make sure that they're treating everyone very well. It's important too with recruiting. We talked a little bit about having the latest technology. Now, this, we invite you to scan this code if you're interested in seeing how Pearl can help your practice. So schedule a demo for your team, sit down, figure out what radiological AI is. But 87% of patients prefer to go to the dentist that has the latest technology. But the other interesting part that most associates comment on is they're looking for doctors to work for with the latest technology, and they're looking for mentorship, right? And I think that's very valuable. So with having more technology, you're probably going to recruit even more effective doctors. And you spoke a little bit about Pearl's Calibrate tool. I think one thing I learned very quickly with consulting was when we hire associates, we're bringing them into our home, right? And some of the doctors I was working with were concerned that, well, if I ask them too many questions or if I do too many tests or if I tell them how to do certain things, I don't want to scare them off. I felt the exact opposite because we wanted them to feel very similar to the owner doctor and have full autonomy. But if you take a silver filling and you look at it, for example, and it's still in the occlusal surface, right? Are you going to feel that? Are you not? And there's different philosophies. So I guess one question I like to wrap up with is once you get a team member on board, can you talk a little bit about how important it is to support them with your philosophy as well as how are we really going to provide this employee with the ability to grow and retain them?
No, think that's a great question. And one of the things that I've always done, again, COVID changed things, so we got away from it, and now things are kind of getting back on track, is we used to do monthly study clubs just amongst our doctors. We used to bring up cases and we would talk about it. And I would have the younger associates, I'm like, hey, you got the driver's seats. Show me cases that you've been doing. Let's talk about it. What's good, bad. It's no judgment. It's just pure learning. And that's and with Pearl AI and Calibrate, I mean, it enhances that even more. Like, how do you read this? How would you treatment plan this? And then we even talk into that. We even go further and talk about how, oh, this patient was a really phobic patient now, and how do you treat that? And one of the things I tell my young doctors that the more phobic the patient is, the more predictable we have to do with dentistry. The more we can't say, I'm going to try this filling, and if it becomes deep and it turns into a root canal, well, it is what it is. Those phobic patients don't want that. They want done once and done. Get it done. So it may seem to you that doing a root canal on a medium-sized cavity is aggressive, but for that patient, they're like, numb me once, done. Okay, I'm good. So,
That is such a great point. Well, those of you that would like to comment on additional webinar topics, feel free to put those in the chat.
and I wanted to say one thing about second opinion. The colors, the colors are a game changer for patients. I personally, when I first integrated Pearl, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cute. I never thought that all the patients talk about it. They're like, "Oh, that's really cool. So that's what the tooth looks like." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess the colors do matter." I felt like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. When they go from the black and white world to the color. I was like,
I love that. That's a great point. I remember just to kind of echo your sentiment there was when I learned that there's two different colors of cavities, right? There was a light pink for just in the enamel, and then there was a darker pink as it passes through the DEJ. So it really kind of allowed us to think about, especially as being a hygienist, okay, these are the areas that I know the doctor's going to come in and confirm, but I can start talking about, are you drinking 5 Gatorades a day during soccer? Why do you have all of these lesions? Let's talk about fluoride, stuff like that. So I love that about Pearl. And really, if we have a tool, and this is why I came to Pearl, that's going to allow patients to understand what we see as clinicians, then we all win. And I think that was the aha moment. It looks like I have an extra question here. Let's see here.
Okay.
Oh, of course, somebody would like to have your webinar, Dr. Wu, because it's great.
Oh,
I appreciate
awesome.
you bringing that up. We are going to be sending out the webinar, so no problem if you were late. Hot topic for hiring, training, and retaining. Dr. Wu, I cannot thank you enough for putting this together for us. Your practice is so incredible. I've had the honor of working with your team, and I just love what you do. So having you on is always a blessing for us. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Pearl. And thanks for always making it fun, Sheila.
Take care, Dr. Wu.
That's why I've always said I'll do whatever webinars you want, Sheila. I'm in.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're very thankful you took the time, and we look forward to seeing you on our upcoming webinars. Thanks so much, and have a great day, everyone.